And joining us now from New York for more, our senior U.S. correspondent Mike Wagenheim. And Mike, the Biden administration has pressed Israel on the Abu Akleh case, but looks like is drawing a line here on this appeal to the ICC.
A really interesting dynamic here. Yes, indeed. State Department spokesperson Ned Price saying that the State Department is essentially maintaining their longstanding objections to the ICC getting involved in the Palestinian-Israeli issue at all. This is just, another request being made on behalf of the Palestinians here by Al Jazeera. And the argument has always been by the State Department and by, U.S. administrations past and present is that the ICC has a core mission. It's the court of last resort, and it deals with essentially atrocities, major crimes, and shouldn't be used in cases such as this, especially when you have an Israeli court system that the U.S. has said a number of times in decades past is reliable, essentially, and impartial, and can do its job in investigating and prosecuting and reaching fair verdicts. Now, Price did say that the U.S. still wants to see accountability in this case. It's notable, though, especially since we've heard Israeli authorities, including Defense Minister Benny Gantz, claim that there is an FBI investigation that's been opened into this particular case, something the FBI refuses to confirm or talk about. Price defined accountability in that press conference as saying that he wants to make sure that there are procedures in place by the IDF to protect non-combatants. Now, that is much different than what he and other State Department officials have called for previously in reference to the Abu Akleh case, which is to see if any crimes have been committed, and if so, to make sure that those who may have committed those crimes are prosecuted and held accountable. Much different definition of accountability, especially in light of what we still don't know whether the FBI is investigating this case or not.
Right, and in another story, Mike, of course, there's been a lot of speculation how the U.S., the Biden administration, is going to relate to figures like Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben Gvir, who will hold a senior cabinet post in the new government. And apparently that is under discussion in the White House now.
Yeah, a report coming out in Axios that a high-level meeting was held recently by administration officials to kind of map out exactly how they're going to handle dealing with the likes of Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben Gvir in a potential Benjamin Netanyahu-led government. And no resolution was apparently reached in that meeting, according to the report from Axios, and the conversations will continue. But obviously there is consternation about what might potentially have to be done in terms of dealing with this government. It's important to note, and I think this will come up in future conversations, Calev, Prime Minister-designate Benjamin Netanyahu had an American media tour this past week, went on a number of different outlets, and in one of those conversations, he said, listen, policy starts with me and ends with me, and I will be the decision maker, all the trying to allay any concerns about the impact of far-right figures in his government. Well, if he wants to be the address for those concerns, I guess he's going to have to deal with those concerns coming out of the Biden administration. It's tough to say, hey, I'm the guy making policy from start to finish, and then when the fire starts to say, hey, go deal with those folks over there. They're the real decision makers when it comes to this case and that case. So he's taking the responsibility here, but he's also going to have to deal, obviously, with the problems that are almost certain to come when folks like Smotrich and Ben Gvir are going to implement their visions and their policies in their particular domains that they have now formed for themselves.